I'm Heather Lockett, and this is Lasting Conversations. My guest today is an amazing creative artist and champion in her community. Welcome, Marji Knecht, owner of Salty Signs Designs in Lake Park, Florida. Hi, Marji.
Hi, Heather. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here. We're going to just have some fun and talk and flow, which is part of your artwork. So I'm going to start here. You have a quote that I have noticed and that you have it posted, which is, "You will never influence the world by being just like it."
Correct.
So I feel that is a big word, but you are an icon in your own way. We have known each other in and out for a number of years as our kids grew up in the same neighborhoods. But now that you have your store, Salty Signs Designs, tell us about your journey and tell us about that very quote, "You will never influence the world by being just like it."
Okay. So my journey, wow. It's an incredible journey. It's one that I'm super proud of. It was not an easy journey, but it was wonderful. I'm going to go back a little bit in time to when my journey started. Career-wise, 18 years in the medical profession as a dental hygienist, moving on to the hospital and cardiac critical care. Very intense job. And raising my kids and the PTA mom and all of that. And married to my ex-husband for 25 years, since we were 15 years old.
And that's where we originally met.
Correct, at elementary school.
Husbands, families, PTAs,
PTA
baseballs,
president,
all
baseball,
of that.
all of that.
Good
And it was
stuff.
super fun, wonderful life. But something started to change in me when I was about 45. And I realized, as happy as my life had been, raising two sons and having a great family life, I felt something in me change that I kind of tried to ignore, and then I had to address it. So at 45 years old, I was working in the hospital, and night shift is fun/stressful, a lot of codes, a lot of death, things that were bringing me to a place where I just felt anxious.
This is the overnight shift?
Yes.
Otherwise known as the graveyard shift.
12 hours, 7 to 7.
Wow.
And although I built a family there with other employees, inside I didn't feel satisfied anymore with myself. There was more in me, more creative side that I needed to explore. At that same time, I'll just jump right in. My sexuality changed, and I realized at 45 years old that I was gay. Never knew it before, but it came on me as the same time I wanted to be more creative in my life. So I changed my life in very drastic ways, and I started an art career just out of the blue by myself, left my job at the hospital, left dental hygiene, and started an art career, as well as found who is my current wife. And my whole life changed in a matter of a couple of months.
A blink of an eye.
A year, yes. And everyone's super supportive. My two older sons, super supportive. And my art journey started. And that is my journey. And 5 years later, I'm in a very different place than when I started 5 years ago. I'm super proud of it. And if the quote that you were talking about, if I would have stayed complacent with my life because I wasn't miserable and it was a good life, if I would have done what the world looks at you like you should be doing, staying in your marriage, raising your kids, and staying in a place where everything is status quo, I wouldn't have found this life that has brought so many good things to my world. As a person, I've learned so many new things, learned to grow, learned to be my true, genuine self. And I never knew I could really be that happy and bring out the best of me by making these changes in my life. So the quote is dear to my heart, that be true to yourself, no matter what that means, and success will follow.
Wow. Tears want to just pour out because you hit on so many things.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons the word champion came in for me this morning when thinking of you is you were championing your own life. You were hearing your own call, and it had to have been very scary to kind of blow up the world that you had created.
Yeah.
And yet you forged and you were championing for yourself, which by that you were also championing for your own kids and the journeys that everybody in the family can make their twists and turns and find happiness.
Right. You have to take that leap and take that chance on yourself to find your true happiness. As far as the kids go, I think all kids ever want is to see their parents happy.
Yes.
Genuinely happy. So when my boys, and they were 20 and 23 when I told them, when they realized that it was really nothing about their father, it was not an ugly thing, there was nothing nasty. When they saw that, they had to be happy for me, being that I found my true happiness. They knew there was something missing from me. So,
right. Yeah, because kids know, whether they know, or they know.
Yeah.
They know something is off. And so let's start with your champion also, which is your wife. Yeah. And interestingly, she has been a basketball coach. So that very softball, sorry about that. So that very word keeps coming up. But from my sideline perspective, she is your cheerleader. She is your champion. You're doing this big thing, which we'll get to in a minute, called Salty Signs. Tell us about your relationship in that very teamwork that you guys have.
This is hard to talk about because it's super emotional. Being married to a woman is something that I never could dream of, having a best friend as your partner and your spouse. My wife is the strongest person I've ever met. She's everything I'm not. I'm creative. I am goofy. I am a goofball. I am just a hurricane and a storm all the time. She is calm. She is rational. She's just the wind beneath my wings. She stood by me from day one. Actually, no, she didn't. So when I first met her, she asked me what my career was, and I said, I'm an artist, and I was just beginning. And she kind of said, oh,
that's
do you
nice.
have a backup job?
Yeah.
And I said, I do. I am a dental hygienist and ultrasound tech in the hospital, but I chose to leave to do an art career. And she was like, okay. So the first time I had her to my house, I had one small dining room table and one set of paints, and I was sitting at the table, and she came in and she looked at it, and she's from the Midwest, so sea glass and ocean art was not her thing. She knew nothing about it, and she looked at my art and she said, do you have a backup plan? And I said, I do, but I won't need it. Well, slowly over the years, over the months, as she saw my art grow, I watched her become amazed at how, even though I didn't do book work, I didn't have receipts, I didn't keep orders written, they were all in my head, she saw how I work okay that way. Mm-hmm. I knew what orders were due without having a calendar and as quirky as I can be, it amazed her that it actually worked. So she dove in full force. She, yes, is a softball coach. So 30 years of coaching college kids. So she had that coach attitude. You dive in, you go hard, and you give it your best. And that's what she did with my business. She took me to a level that I never thought I would reach and would never have been able to do it by myself because I don't know how to do accounting. And she made me keep receipts, and she made me keep my books. And I had to do things that I just never intended on doing. She doesn't want any recognition. She stands behind the scenes. She does all the dirty work, all the paperwork, all the numbers that float in her head. and stays up late nights doing so. So 5 years later, my business is grown to a point of amazement still to me every day. I'm humbled at where I am, and I just plan on continuing. And with her help, there's nothing we can't do.
There's no stopping either of you. So when I popped in the other day to touch base with you about having this conversation, we looked at each other and mutually said, this is bigger than us. Like you said, this is bigger than me, what you're doing. And I know that what I'm doing is meant to be way bigger. Way bigger. And I'm looking at my photo with the waves. So this brings me to the whole nature of your art, which is nature, and it is the sea, and it is sand. So let's talk, and the flow and the resin and the colors. So tell us about the art. And within that, how has it grown within the community so that people can become involved, and that you also have artists who create things and their items are for sale as well. So this is the community part. People are there, the people that you employ, that you give leg up. Tell us about the art and the very flow of all of these things.
Okay, so the artwork started with painting and sea glass. Who doesn't love sea glass in Florida?
I love sea glass.
So we all love sea glass. Although if we spend a day at the beach, we might find 5 pieces. I started out making sea glass trees by myself. They evolved to a point where I might have gotten $15 per item, and I was happy at that. Mm-hmm. If I could buy groceries with a art show that funded me that, I was super happy.
You were at community centers and
community centers and
things.
Every little green markets and Harborside. And it was one day, and I want to bring up this story because it's very important to me and everyone who I mentor in the art world who comes to me and says, how did you do this? How did this happen? I went to the Harborside Green Market on a Sunday. I didn't feel well. I didn't want to go. It was hot. And I made myself go because I committed. I actually fell asleep during the show sitting in my chair. I was so tired, did not feel well. And for anyone out there doing anything, starting a business, entrepreneurship, it's not always about the dollar that you make, but sometimes it's about the connection you make. And I say this because that day I didn't want to go. I felt sick. I did not sell one piece. So by the end of the day, I wanted to pack up early. But if you do that, you're not invited back. So I sat still till 3 o'clock. At 10 to 3, when the art show was almost over, a woman walked up and she said, I have a high-end nautical store in Harborside. I've never seen you here. And I said, I come sometimes, not all the time. And at that moment, she asked when I packed up if I could come in the store. And I did so. She was my very first store that brought me in. And when I walked in, she offered me a large amount of money to be exclusive to her store in Jupiter. And I made not $1 that day, but what I made was a connection with a business owner who believed in my art. From there, I went from 1 store, the next year to 5 stores, the next year to 35 stores. And today we supply 147 stores nationwide with my sea glass products. They have evolved. And then that's how I get to my employees. My employees are not just people who come to work and go home.
They are amazing, and they are fun. And you guys dance and sing and have all kinds of fun.
We have Fun Thursday. We do contests. We do gift
cards. Your costumes the other day at Halloween, all of that.
They are the best. And it took me a while to get to this group of staffing. I have 10 employees. And
so first of all, you've gone from yourself in your living room or your garage, and now you have an amazing store.
I just moved.
And then 10 employees.
Yeah, we just moved into a 4,000 square foot building where my employees can have their side. Right. And my other side is a boutique and my side to work. I am equal to every employee in there. I never put myself higher than any of them. I will clean the garbage with anybody else. We are all equal in my studio. As far as the community, I hire recovering females that need somewhere to work, and no one else will hire them. They are just amazing. I hire women that are in their 50s that also have a big career but want to step down and do something more creative, and they have a hard time finding jobs because of their age. I have a young teenager that works for School of the Arts, and I mentor her, and she's an amazing artist. I have 2 other full-time employees that are artists themselves, and to be honest, the art that they produce is a way higher level of painting than I could ever achieve. And I say to them, why do you work for me? And they feel that my studio is comfort. I offer them a place that they can not only work, but put their art for sale. And I try to mentor them into a place where they're then successful to open their own business. I just believe that we are a family, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for any one of them. My manager, honestly, this is a business that, like Heather said, is bigger than me, and I could not do it by myself. So my wife has now retired the softball business, and she is our full-time shipping manager. She does shipments every single day. And we all work together to get the job done. It's overwhelming. I might cry every day. I might feel stressed. A lot of times I walk out and go have a little panic attack, and I come right back, not because I'm unhappy, but because it's bigger. Follow your dreams and everything else comes. This is my dream that I waited for, and now that it's here, it's scary. It for sure is a place that is constant. We are working all the time and give up a lot of things to do so. But the community is what it's about. I volunteer, I donate, I make sure that everywhere in our community, which I consider, I'm in Lake Park, Jupiter, Juno Beach. There's nowhere you go that doesn't know Salty Signs. I'm proud of that. Loggerhead Marine Museum. I'm in there. It's just such a good feeling that everyone in the community walks into stores and then texts me and says, "Oh, your product's here. I see you here." And the name Salty Signs has become like a county name. It is now spread throughout Hawaii and California and the Bahamas, and it's just so humbling to know that something I created is something that everyone is purchasing. The wholesale end of it has grown. I also, like Heather said, the flow. I'm into resin art. That, to me, is the creativity that I was looking for. Like, you just lay down resin and it flows. It might not be the result you were looking for, but it goes in its own way, just like my mind. It just finds its own way into the picture, the furniture, whatever I'm doing. And I find such peace in that, and that these pieces are created and they just kind of go their own way, and everything turns out amazing. So
I'm gonna go ahead and just describe a little bit of what the resin is. It's a certain polymer, but you can add colors to them and even different textures and sparkle or whatever you want to put in them. And as they pour and as they flow, they make their own design. And most within your shop has to do with waves and blending, and yet there's an imperfection to them, which, as you know, a perfectionist in resonance here myself, I can see where when I've done it, I'll go, oh, look at me. I'm a Miss Go with the Flow, except if I'm trying to create something and you call it art, I'm like, ooh, MF, this is not perfect.
It's perfectly imperfect.
It is totally perfectly imperfect. And so these resin pours, whether they have the shells, there's the clear ones, there's all kinds of different flavors to them. They really are extraordinary, and they make their mark, whoever has made it, and then the paint and the resin themselves take over And the whole thing is its own orchestra. It is really extraordinary.
It is.
And a piece of furniture that has started in one fashion, maybe it's old, maybe it's from the side of the street, is now a work of art.
Absolutely.
And people are enjoying something new and fresh and different, whether they've made it for themselves or you've created it for them, because you do custom work.
Yeah, we do custom furniture. We do custom charcuteries and trays. And the furniture to me is super exciting to take an old piece that someone might have that's dark brown and they go home with a whitewashed piece with a huge ocean scene on it. It just brings so much joy to me that my pieces are in people's homes, that they have spent their life trying to make a beautiful home. Not everybody loves their piece in the beginning.
Right.
Because resin takes its own flow and goes its own way, they have something in their mind that they've seen on YouTube, or they come in with an idea and I'm like, okay, drop all ideas at the door and let's get rid of the OCD and we are going to create a beautiful piece. And I had a girl yesterday in one of my classes, and she was not happy at all with her piece. And my theory and what I tell them in the beginning is I'll never have you leave the studio with, it's okay. Yeah, I like it. And not what I thought. I will never have you leave. We will stay for hours until you say, I love it. And she went through the, not what I expected. I was thinking something else. And when that happens, it's usually either the color overran another color, or she had seen something that is an advanced technique that I don't teach in the beginning lessons. So we stayed there another hour, and very shortly, she absolutely was thrilled with her piece and loved it. So I let her go home. But resin, you have to have an open mind with, just like with this business and just like with everything. Heather starting this podcast, you kind of have an open mind. And sometimes it doesn't always take you where you want to go, but the end solution is always going to work out.
Exactly. And excuse me, you have a photo. It always feels so amazing when I walk into the shop. And as half a medium that I am, I'm very intuitive. So I feel other people, I feel things. And your mom is there. And I think you also have a lot of other cheerleaders, but there's a photo of your mom. And talk about conversations. This piece always gets me because it's not just a photo. There's something extra special within this frame. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So my mom passed away 3 years ago, and she was a very artsy school teacher, very funny, full of humor until her last breath. Super funny. So when she was in the hospital, she talks Pig Latin, which, if any of you know, it sounds hilarious, but she could talk it fluently and very fast. So the last thing she said was a phrase of Pig Latin, and we happened to get it on video. And right at this moment, can't remember verbatim, but it said something to the fact of, I don't shivagit, this is too mucking fudge. And if you do the Pig Latin reversal, you'll see what she just said to me. So I have friends that are crystal grid artists, and they use crystals to tap into people. And they actually took a picture of my mom and put it in a frame with crystals all around it that they felt resonated with the situation with me and with my mom. And there is a scan code at the bottom of the frame. When you put your phone up to it, my mom's photo comes up live on your phone as a video saying that phrase. I have it hanging in my office because unfortunately she missed the grand opening of my first studio, and I hung it in the studio because she would have been there every day with me. She might have annoyed me, but she would sit there every day and love and be amazed at the artwork. There was nothing I didn't do that she didn't just call her friends and brag about it, even if it was absolutely the most hideous piece. But I put her in there, and I felt her in there, and lots of times things happened where I know it was her, and chairs would go down automatically, and my my employees would say, I think your mom's in here today, because they'd be sitting and their chair would fall to the ground, and silly things like that, because she was super silly. But that picture moves with me everywhere I go. To my new studio, I have it behind my desk, and anytime I'm feeling like I need her there with me, which is pretty much always, I can just put my camera on that scan code, and she comes up live on my phone saying that phrase, which makes me laugh every time.
Wow, that's so special. I didn't even realize about the scan code part, or maybe I've forgotten, because even the visual, you can see the modulation.
Yeah.
So as everything is vibration and all of that wonderful stuff, that alone, to see her voice that has said that beautiful thing to you, or that silly thing, as she was leaving this side of the planet, it's fun and it's irreverent and it's heartwarming and special. It's all these amazing things. And there's a visual, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the rest of us can feel it. That's really that is the lasting conversation. That's the best part.
It is amazing. And just looking at that picture, I can hear her words.
Right.
And I feel it, and it's great to be able to do that.
That's really cool. So, you have been a member of this community. You actually were born and raised here, or raised here?
I moved here when I was 7.
7.
Yeah.
So I think this can speak to not only the Florida area, but a lot of areas that is going through change. And we're all personally going through changes globally, every which way. But one of the major things that's happening here is development. And a lot of people that can feel very difficult. It's change. Is it exciting? Is it a detriment? Are they, mowing down forests and then the coyotes come into suburbia? Or is this really, really exciting? So from your perspective, as someone who's lived here way before I have, and there had been a lot more pasture land, farmland, the communities themselves were different, and now there is this tremendous growth. Lake Park itself is going through, it's 100 years old, cute little town. Yeah. It actually has a main street, which some of the other development towns don't around here. But it's also in a fundamental shift with the big condo developments coming in. So again, there are those that would say, oh my God, this is horrible. And those are saying, oh my goodness, what a great opportunity. Where do you stand as all these changes are evolving? For someone who has been part of a community for so long?
I'm going to start with saying that when you said a lot of people are uncomfortable, sometimes when I'm having a scary day, anxious day, and because the business I feel is too big for me to handle sometimes, I call one of my mentors who's in Virginia Beach, and she has a store the size of mine. She's been doing it 6 years. And I called her about a month ago and I said, tell me this is good. Tell me this is good.
How am I doing this again?
Tell me I did the right thing, because I can't get out of bed and I feel like I'm going to die. And she said, and she said, are you uncomfortable? I said, very. She said, then you're good. And I said, explain, because it doesn't feel good. She said, growth is uncomfortable. But if you're uncomfortable, you're moving in the right way. If you were not uncomfortable, you don't feel enough about what you're doing. You're not passionate enough about it. So any growth is going to be uncomfortable. So that leads me into this growth that I'm seeing all around us, the high-rise condos that are going around me. It's not comfortable. I live in a neighborhood that I'm going to look out my front door and see a high-rise condo where the lowest condo's up in the millions. And it's not always so comfortable. But on the other side, I see that our community is going to benefit financially from this growth and bring a whole new atmosphere, specifically to Lake Park, I'm speaking. It's going to bring new stores, new restaurants. It's going to make it clean up some of the areas that need cleaning up. Is it scary? It is. They're going to overtake a whole portion of the road. But it's making other stores that maybe let their guard down, maybe let it go into the point of they let their restaurants be dirty, or they didn't care so much about their staff. Their product isn't good anymore. All these restaurants are now redoing and rebuilding or remodeling. And I think it's very important to keep a clean, safe environment for the neighborhoods, whether it be Palm Beach Gardens or Lake Park. So I find it very exciting. At the same time, uncomfortable. For me as a businesswoman who has a growing business in the same area of all the growth, it's exciting. Everyone in our area is coastal. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to, some upbeat coffee shops coming in. I think the old quaintness is wonderful, but I also think some new additions is exciting.
I think you're right. And I land back in that word complacency that you had mentioned earlier when we were talking, where, the old soft slipper, is that a cozy, warm thing? Absolutely. Yeah. Is that the best thing for you? Probably not. So whether it's part of relationship, part of a community, and these things are happening around the world in all kinds of different areas, not just a development, but it goes to a lot of main streets, a lot of areas. What is the vision? What is the community supposed to be? And what's the next generation? What's the next vision of what is available? So it can take your breath away. I have this thing. I remember being in school, and I used to love laying back in my chair. And I had a 6th grade teacher that freaked. She never wanted us to do that because someone had gotten really hurt. But that very feeling of, well, is the roller coaster going or is it not going? Is this a free fall or what's really happening? Is the ground beneath me quaking? Well, yes, it is, because it's evolution and it's being dynamic, and this is why we're here.
And your old comfy slipper is comfortable.
Right.
So you want to put your foot in it.
Right.
The unknown is the scary part.
Right. So it is nice to have the comfy slippers. And what you were saying about your shop and places like that is that having a nice soft place to land, to have a warm bed to come home to have a partner, to have friends, to have your local diner. There's enough. I'm always going to come back to, there's enough for everybody. So having a nice, comfortable spot to have our whoopee, whatever that little whoopee is important. It is. It just is important. That's why having a nice little cup of tea or something like that we need it.
Right.
We need it for ourselves, and then we need it to gather ourselves back, to take that deep breath, to then move out and do our great big things that are rocking our world. What do you see as a vision? And interestingly, this whole notion of when something is bigger than us, when you recognized, okay, I'm an artist, but at that time, you hadn't had a vision board big enough to imagine what you're doing now. Is that correct? Correct. I think those of us that we can have an inkling that something's about to pop and something is bigger than us that we are moving toward. Can you say what you're feeling your vision is now? Or are you just riding the wave and seeing where things are flowing and saying yes?
So I like to just ride the wave and take it where it takes me. But I have a wife who doesn't like to just ride the wave. She wants concrete plans, and we meet this goal and this goal and this goal. So we kind of meet in the middle with our goals. My vision at this point, it's hard to say. I feel like I've grown as big as I can grow, and I'm uncomfortable. So I know I'm going in the right direction.
Right.
However, we are attending the Atlanta trade show again in January.
Nice.
So that was my wife's idea. And we will go there again. And we will probably, every year since I've started, I have doubled my business, my clients, and my revenue. So I assume this year, after the Atlanta show, I'm thinking that's going to be as much as we can handle. Another 60, 70 stores will bring us into the 250 range of stores we supply. And I see our vision going 80% wholesale. It keeps creeping more and more, already has, to the wholesale side, which is great. But I'm a people person, so I like to keep my customers.
Right.
I like my boutique open. I like the daily stop-ins, pop-ins, whether they're purchasing or not. I have a great customer base that has been with me and followed me through the last 5 years. And so my vision is to take this business as far as I can go and stay realistic and humble.
Beautiful. That's really lovely. And you're also a teacher. You have a space that you have people come in.
Correct.
To do their own thing. And do you see that will always be at the core? The wholesale, that end is fantastic. And maybe people will help you as your team. I always call it Santa's Village. I just do when I come in there. So you need many fantastic elves.
They call it the sweatshop, but anyway.
Well, no, because you're very, very fair and generous. So, but that artistic side and the teacher in you, the mentor in you, will you always want to have your own canvas, if you will, the table, the paint under your fingernails, and have that available? You have it right now. I love it. Available to others.
I will. It is the best part of my day, whether it's one person or 10 or 20. Every student comes out with a different piece, different creativity. I see their minds work. I'm proud to help them that they develop something they love so much. A lot of them come weekly to learn more and more advanced skills and keep doing resin. And some of them start doing it at home, which I'm completely happy to help them. So the classroom is very important to me. It's where our minds can create and my mind can just open up. And the daily tasks of wholesale, I can forget about for a while, and I can just completely create with my classmates, not my classmates, my students, and help them do the same.
Great.
Yeah.
And that really goes to the heart of what art is all about.
Exactly.
Is in that fun and that joy and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
So Marji, thank you so much for coming in. Your store, Salty Signs Designs. And you also have another business where you want the trees?
Our wholesale business, Salty Signs would be the parent company, and we have A Sea Glass Christmas, which is our wholesale company.
A Seed Glass Christmas. And these trees, really, those are your signature, and they light up.
Yes.
And they are adorable. They really are absolutely adorable.
Appreciate
and
it.
they do ship worldwide, or at least nationally. So again, thanks so much, Marji.
Thank you, Heather. I had a lot of fun, and I hope that this resonates with a lot of people.
I'm sure it does. And I really appreciate sharing your journey. Thank you for listening, everybody. And please make sure to follow, like, review, share this podcast, and tell your friends. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, send emails to podcasts@lastingconversations.com. You can also find us on Facebook and our Lasting Conversations website. This is Lasting Conversations. We get to the heart of everything.